Hello, this is Jonathon Ramsey with Autoblog. The Ford Mustang turns 50 this year, and in its 50 years of life, almost everything about the car has changed. The one thing that hasn't, its solid rear axle. That's an engineering dinosaur that predates World War I and gave the car some uneven handling at times. But for 2015, among many other changes, the Mustang finally gets the driving dynamics it deserves with a revised suspension setup in front and a brand new independent rear setup. Let's go take it for a spin. I gave this car a rave review on Autoblog. It was essentially 2,000 words of, yes, 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 this is the one. And people asked me, did you really like the car that much? Yeah, I did. Why? Because it's massively better than the one it replaces. In fact, it's so good it can do things that the previous car couldn't. Our friends at Galpin Ford gave me a 2014 V6 and V8. I like the engines on both of them. I like the transmissions. But as for the cars themselves, the steering was so vague, it could be considered legally blind. It had less feedback than a toaster. The two-piston brakes gave up 30 seconds into the first round. And the rear suspension, well, that bounced around like an exotic dancer when you'd hit a bump. And people said, oh, well, you said the previous cars weren't so bad before. I never said that. Other reviewers might have, but I never said that. I thought the 2010 GT 500 was perfectly frightening on a bumpy road. And the two Mustangs I did like were the Roush 427R, which I thought was the best at sorting out that solid rear axle, and the Shelby Super Snake. But those cars are 50 and 70 grand. That's Cayman or Z06 money. That, to me, made no sense for a Mustang. This car, the 2015, fixes all that. The steering wheel on the 2015 Mustang is a bit smaller than before. Not by much, but with hand position, little things mean a lot. What's a lot more important is that the revised front suspension tells me more about where the front wheels are. When I turn the steering wheel, I know where I'm going to put the car. You didn't have that before. Even better, the independent rear suspension and the front suspension actually communicate. On the last generation car, the front and the back end acted like a recently divorced couple. On this car, they cooperate. Ford, in fact, was going to keep the old front suspension, but when they put the independent rear suspension on, they realized that the front suspension wouldn't cut it, so they changed them both. The result is confidence. Also, thanks to those new brakes, the 4-piston units, double the power of before, mean I can brake late into a corner and know I'm actually going to stop. I can treat this car like I want to treat a sports car. I don't have to make any excuses. All I have to do is stay alive and enjoy myself. Is the car perfect? Of course not. Here, there's nothing here. It's almost dead on center. The steering modes I can change with the toggle switch at the base of the center console. They give me more resistance, but they don't give me more feedback as I apply more lock. The weight transfer during hard cornering can be a bit abrupt, going from right to left as the car slows down. It also floats a bit, but just a touch. Not enough to interrupt anything, but you notice it when you're looking for the ultimate in handling. But we're talking about a Ford Mustang that I can drive the roads I like, curvy mountain roads, the way I like to drive them. I've never been able to say that before. I should say something about the interior. It's the best Mustang interior you've ever seen off the factory floor. And coming up, this bump right there in a previous generation car, they'd either be digging dirt out of my door or they'd be calling a helicopter to get me out of the canyon. I am driving on a road right now. I drive all the time in lots of different sports cars, and I'm doing things right now I can't do in a previous generation Mustang. This car, the wheels stay on the ground, the car stays pointed where you want, and you can keep on enjoying yourself. That's all I could ever ask. And that's why I think this car is so great. Are there better sports cars? Of course. But you're going to spend a lot more money for them. Ones with this much horsepower, this much room, and this much practicality. It used to be that unless you were going to get a Roush or a GT500, you had to spend extra money to get your Mustang to handle properly. With the 2015, that's no longer the case. It handles like a proper sports car should, and it's not just a new chapter in Mustang history, it's a new book. For Autoblog, I'm Jonathon Ramsey.